Welcome back to the Out of the Rough podcast presented by We Know Fantasy. My name is Nate with We Know Fantasy. Joining me as always is my co-host Jake. Jake, what I have a question for you, and I'm pretty
Yep.
sure all of the listeners are wondering, what did you shoot this weekend at
Oh
TPC
boy.
Scottsdale? And
I
we're gonna
got
be honest, I'm gonna call
torched.
the clubhouse and figure it out.
No, I'll be honest here. I got absolutely lit up by that course. I shot a 106, which is probably my worst score since I played high school golf. Um, really tough conditions. So it was really weird, right? Because it was desert golf, hottest weekend
Hmm.
ever. It's supposed to be super dry, but I had the first tee time out. So they run the sprinklers overnight there, and it was like soaking wet. So you'd hit drives and your ball would be embedded. So it was lift clean place on for us. And it was just, I got lit up by that course, but it was so beautiful. Front nine wasn't anything special. The back nine was absolutely awesome. And I recommend playing it at least once so you get to experience it.
Yeah, I definitely jealous of doing so. And of course, we love to see this thing where now you can, when we're watching, WM Phoenix Open next year, you're like, oh, my ball went right in the rough here and I was able to chip onto the front. I think you should take a 9 iron. You know how it is. Those
Yep.
type of guys, you're able to do that. But beyond that, man, you had a good week on the betting cards. Keegan Bradley broke my heart as a Tommy Fleetwood backer. And of course, you tagged on Minjee Lee. I know that wasn't an advertised one, but another bonus to the betting pool. So a good week there.
Yep. Yeah, that was, I mean, I was boarding my plane. I didn't watch a minute of golf, so I can't really talk too much about the tournament, but I saw they were both in the fairway. One of my friends had it up on their phone, and I saw Fleetwood short, and I was like, maybe I have a shot if I get to a playoff. Henley chipped in, who was also on my card, so I'm like, all right, I got two dogs in
I
this
forgot
fight
about that.
here.
Yeah.
Um, and then I don't know what happened with Tommy, like just short gave Keegan the read from like an
Hmm.
inch away, and then I I feel bad for Tommy, right? Like just betting aside, obviously I'm happy my wallet is happy that Keegan won, but that is a heart-wrenching loss that
Oh
I don't
man.
Nate, I know you were on him and that just sucks, but did you see that video
Yep.
from the
I was
camera
just about
angle
to bring that
behind
up.
him?
I'm just about to
Oh
bring
my
that up.
God.
Instantly goes into his elbow. You know,
Heartbreaking.
like
Heartbreaking.
we all thought it was the time, right? We all thought, got to what? He was like two or three up, even at one point in the back nine. We
Yep.
thought he had it, gets to one over because Keegan's going on a run. And I don't know what his idea was. My understanding or what I took away from it was he's going to play short, force Keegan, take that bunker because it was that pin was tucked on that bunker.
Right.
Basically, make Keegan make the shot because if Keegan goes the bunker, Tommy Fleetwood wins that tournament,
Right.
possibly, right? And at least a playoff.
Yeah.
And he was playing for the worst case scenario would be a playoff for Tommy Fleetwood. He leaves it short, hits a long putt, wins the tournament, or Keegan makes a miraculous shot. Tommy Fleetwood lag putts, which he does really well outside of that moment, and then goes to a playoff, leaves it way short, and then
Yeah.
the lag putt was awful. Like you said, gave Keegan the read, gave Keegan the tournament, and then just the pure breakdown. Like, I don't know. I don't know if you come
It's
back from that one, honestly,
Yeah, I mean, Tommy is probably has the most scar tissue on the PGA Tour, let's be
by
honest
far.
here. And
He
just to
now has
have,
the most top tens and top fives of anyone on PGA Tour history who hasn't won.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. And what hurts the most probably is that he had that 9 iron in his hand, talked to the caddy, clubbed down, and then was short and put himself in that position where, look, everyone's seen that worm's view of the putt where it looks like it hits a pebble or something and goes off. That sucks too, but you can't put yourself in that situation to start on a lag putt. Like you he gave it away, and it sucks. I feel horrible for him. I do absolutely love him at the Open this year. I think he has a live
Everyone does.
chance.
Everyone does.
Yeah, but
He'll be the
I,
most tip probably.
he can't win the Travelers Championship. Do I really trust him to win a major? Like it's just crazy at this point.
Absolutely insane. I mean, it boiled down to a good tournament, and the viewership was really good for it. And for us, we were fighting for a player captain the Ryder Cup, and this really helps Keegan Bradley's odds in doing just that. I know he's
Yeah.
still short, but I think he's like 7 or 8 on the list right now. So a little bit more work to do. Uh, I'm getting really worried, Jake, though, about Russell Henley at Bethpage with a second place finish again. He's pretty much locked for the Ryder Cup. It's not going to be a good time to have him there. Hopefully, Captain Keegan uses him sparingly there at Bethpage. I know, no knock to Russell Henley, fantastic golfer, super talent, just gonna get eaten alive at Bethpage Black with sub distance off the tee. Um, yeah, beyond that, it was one of those betting weekends I would like to forget. Like I had legitimately four chances on four different tours to cash a ticket. Going to Sunday, we have Tommy Fleetwood of the PGA Tour, Travelers Championship, 3-stroke lead. We got Pearson Coody, 1 stroke back on the Corn Ferry Tour, who, is the cream of the crop of the Corn Ferry Tour this season. You think he's got that in the bag. You have Robin, uh, it's like Sice Shout or something like that. Anyways, Frenchman on the Hotel Planet Tour. These are all shout out to all tour golf bets. This has nothing to do with me. I'm just tailing the guy. He's 1 stroke back on home soil. He has a chance. And then all three of those guys, Robin, shot like +6, took himself out of it. Tommy Fleetwood did his meltdown. Pearson Coody had a double bogey on a super give me hole. And then to rub insult to injury, guys, I'm just tailing the LPGA on my phone. I didn't think I had a chance. And then my 110-1 Austin Kim all of a sudden is 2 back. I don't know if she got to 1 back in second place of Minji Lee, who was struggling at one point in that back nine
Yeah.
to hold it together. And I had in my mind, I'm like, I have a real shot of cashing this ticket. And then, of course, Minji Lee corrected. Austin Kim missed a birdie putt that looked really good into the last second. So nothing cashed. It was one of those weeks where everything looked so good. And, as bettors, we don't think anything of give me's or guarantees. But when I woke up Sunday, I was like, one of these is going to cash. There's
Yeah.
not a chance in this world where one of these doesn't cash. And guess what, guys? None of them cashed. But that's golf betting. We
Yeah.
move on. Scar tissue. Me and Tommy Fleetwood have that together. But mine's a little different. I lost a couple $100 and he lost his first PGA Tour victory. Either
Yep.
way, Jake, we should probably move forward, quit babbling here, and give the people they want to talk about. But before we do that, where can we find you on social media?
Yep, you can find me at DJ Freeman on Twitter. Both my outright cards for the PGA Tour and DP World Tour are already posted there, so be sure to check those out and throw me a like. Also, be sure to join our Discord, completely free to join. Over 275, 300 members about that at this point. Golf chat's going 24/7. A lot of people in there, a lot of great information and good conversations. So if you're looking for DraftKings plays, outright plays, top 5 markets, top 10 markets, all that stuff, anything golf related, be sure to join. There's a lot of great information at your fingertips. Also, some exclusive content in there. Nate posts his first round leaders in there. I post my matchups and also some alt tour bets that we do that we don't necessarily advertise on Twitter. So, again, no hidden paywalls once you're in there. No harm, no foul. Be sure to join, message Dana or myself, and we'll get you the link to do that.
Yeah, Jake, let's go back to the scar tissue this past week. I forgot to even mention the first round leader market. And, I loaded it and it said Scotty Scheffler 12-1. I'm like, hey, this is a very good number for a first round leader. And if I'm not going to bet Scotty Scheffler to win this event, he didn't because his fourth or second round was god awful. And Scotty Scheffler standard. That first round leader at 12-1. I'm like, this is all about it. I checked before I go coach soccer. He's tied for the lead at -8 through 13. I'm like, hey, this is guaranteed. I coach soccer, check my phone. The dude's still tied at -8, and I split the 12-1. So be it. Slight profit on the week, so I didn't leave completely empty-handed. But this is how my week went. Right? Couldn't even get a
Yeah,
full first round leader with Scotty Scheffler with 5 holes to go to get one more birdie.
and that's an easy 5 hole stretch too.
Oh
Like he
yeah,
should have definitely had at
yeah.
least one.
That's part of it. Hey, but anyways, that was my fourth first round leader I hit of the season, and usually it's one or two guys on the card. It's nothing. It's not full cards for first round leader. So, again, that's all on the Discord. Typically, my live stuff is exclusive there, but I'm trying to branch out and offer some more insight and depth and articles for like live and the LPGA on the website. Speaking of which, WeKnowFans.com, where you can find fantasy sports content, fantasy baseball, basketball, football, NASCAR, golf, everything between. We have you covered on there each week. PGA Tour, DP World Tour, LPGA majors, really in-depth breakdowns of all of those. Going to do live on their full article form like I do with the other ones, and I'm going to try to do weekly LPGA if time allows, where I really go in depth about all the tours, events, whatever. PGA, that's where my DFS content is, where I do my DFS suggestions, so check that out. Yeah, beyond that, I think you can find myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKF I'm really out of whack here, Jake. Usually I have it scripted in my mind from 4 or 5 years of doing this. So
We're a
I
little
think I probably
scattered.
I probably missed something, but either way, yeah, whatever.
We'll hit it on the back end.
Fans.com, newsletter, all of it. Check it out. All right, let's move forward, Jake. Enough of that stuff. We move forward to the Rocket Classic. It's not the Rocket Mortgage Classic, as I thought until yesterday afternoon when I was
I screwed that up in
corrected.
my tweet.
Yep, I hashtagged Rocket Mortgage Classic a few times before. Either way, it's Rocket Classic now. This is the first of three events in the Midwest. Of course, two straight, and then the Altfield event with the ISCO Championship in Kentucky to play opposite the Scottish Open. Next week, TPC Deer Run for the John Deere Classic. And this week, we are in Detroit, Michigan at Detroit Country Club. This has became an event 2019, the first of its kind in Michigan. I don't know why I said of its kind. The first PGA Tour event in Detroit, not Michigan. The first PGA Tour event in Michigan since the Buick Open at Warwick Hills back in 2009. Detroit Country Club was established in 1899. Has a long history, but is very fresh to the PGA Tour, first being played in 2019. Of course, regular field event. It feels like we haven't had a regular field event in so long. Masters, not Masters, geez, majors, signature events, all of this. It feels like it's been months since we've had a regular field event, but here
Yeah.
we are, world number 4, Collin Morikawa leading the way, trying to find some form. He is struggling right now. Most notably, he was on the wrong end of the three-man playoff that saw Rickie Fowler victorious here in 2023 along Adam Hadwin. That's Collin Morikawa. Other names we have this week: Hideki Matsuyama, Ben Griffin, Patrick Cantlay, Keegan Bradley, Wyndham Clark, Akshay Bhatia, Min Woo Lee, Cameron Young. Excuse me if any of those have withdrawn. I did not check the list, but I think they're all still there. All of those are in the top 40 of the OWGR. Cam Davis comes in as defending champion as he held off a slew of golfers, including Bhatia, Lee, Aaron Rai, and Davis Thompson. I don't know who I meant by Lee. Yeah, Min Woo Lee. Okay. By a single stroke. Davis also won this event back in 2021 in the playoff over, get this, Troy Merritt and Joaquin Niemann. If you guys are looking for a merchant of any golf course on the PGA Tour, Troy Merritt at Detroit Country Club is the answer to that question. The guy is only good at this golf course and event for whatever reason. So, yeah, take that with a grain of salt. Other former winners include Rickie Fowler in 13, Tony Finau in 2022, and Nate Lashley in 2019. Jake, you made a joke about this when we are talking about the introduction before we got on the podcast, and you said, "Hey, Tony Finau won here, so anyone can win here, right?"
Yeah.
Um,
I said it a little bit more rough around the edges.
yeah, it is what it is, right? Cleaned it up a little bit.
Yep.
Detroit Country Club, par 72 at 7,370 yards. Best described as a bomb and gouge course, which features some very low scores and all. Expect a birdie fest this week. There are two courses at Detroit Country Club, and all those this week's event will be held predominantly at the longer north course. The third hole for this week will be the south course's first hole, which is a par 4, both of which are Ronald Doss designs. Although we've seen fairway finders have success and win here at Detroit Country Club, course and tournament history suggests that those who are long off a tee will have a leg up. Around 50% of all drives have been over 300 yards here at Detroit Country Club. This course simply lacks the bells and whistles of the PGA Tour courses we like to see. Fairways are tree lined and rather wide, make it less of a positional golf course than other parkland courses we're used to seeing. Very few hazards this week, non-penal rough, back to front sloping greens. The past installments of these events have spoiled down to putting contests. This is also a course where poor putters simply don't catch fire and find themselves in contention, so a strong putter is needed here in these bent grass / POA greens. Par 4, the 4 par 5 feature this week are the easiest holes in the golf course and must be taken advantage of. 635-yard par 4. Fourth hole, par 5, fourth hole, excuse me, is the most difficult of the par 5s, but still boosts a 30% birdie rate. You got some other holes like the 577-yard 17th, easiest hole on the course, 47% birdie rate. Two of the par 3s play over 200 yards and play rather difficult, while the other two play around 160 and are much easier. The list goes on and on. Green relation list here, or percentage here, is also high, 72% there. Missing greens isn't the end all. However, scrambling is easier here with a lack of hazards and non-penal rough around the greens. Again, one thing to note, though, is historically speaking, winners have more than doubled the field and sand saves over the last 4 years here as well. You can make that 5 years, actually. Around 40% of all approach shots will come from 125 to 175, with over 21% coming from over 200 yards. So Yeah, and all hitting greens and creating as many scoring opportunities as possible will be key here. Sounds simple, right? But yeah, it's nothing to write home about in terms of this golf course. But Jake, anything to add before we move forward?
No, I think you covered it all. I definitely took the bomb and gouge, what's it called? Set up
Route.
for when I made constructed my card.
I think we all did. I think we all did, Jake.
Yep.
All right. I think we have, let's see, you have six, I have five. So why don't you kick things off here, Jake?
Wow, this is a rare one, Nate. I've
Yeah.
got more than you.
Usually
So
I'm the one with more.
yeah, so I'll kick my card off here. I'm going with Ben Griffin at 22 to 1.
Yep.
I think there was still a little bit of meat on the bone here at 22. I probably would have laid off anything less than 20. But he's just playing some incredible golf. He won the Zurich, then, had two kind of crappy tournaments, but since then, T8 at the PGA Championship, won the Charles Schwab, second at Memorial, 10th at the US Open, and then 14th last week. His ball striking numbers have been nuclear. He's been getting the ball off the tee beautifully, and the putter has been scorching hot. I think that he just continues his run of form, and I think that in a weaker field, the 22 was really enticing and that he could definitely get it done this week. I know that it's super rare, right? Ben Griffin got his first two PGA Tour wins in the span of, 5 or 6 weeks, and I'm calling out his third in a matter of, probably 2 or 3 months, which just seems crazy. But the underlying numbers are there to support that Ben Griffin is playing the best golf of his career and that he could certainly take down this tournament, especially because he's long off the distance compared to the field. He's also been accurate, which is huge. The irons, like I said, have been
Very
scorching and the
good.
putter's been hot. So I think it's all there for him. And 22 was a number I couldn't pass up.
Yeah. So the whole thing has always been with Ben Griffin is Bermuda Ben Griffin, right? But he's been putting extremely well in bent grass, and that's what we're seeing this week. Although it's overseeded with Poe, it's more a bent than a Poe, in my opinion. And that's what I took into consideration this week. But you mentioned it right there. He's my DFS right up on WeKnowFace.com. 17th green regulations. He's 34th on approach, 36 on par fives, 42nd out of the sand, 51st off the tee, 52nd birdie or better, 64th driving distance. He checks what we want. 67th in strokes gained putting. Right now, the way he's playing, dare you say, top 10, 15 player on tour in current form over the last 2, 3 months,
Yeah.
playing extremely good golf. Weak field here, where even the cream of the crop here in this field, right? You have who was it? Colin Morikawa, who is struggling to do anything right now. Patrick Cantlay the same way. Keegan Bradley, fresh off a victory in home, like is he going to be really dialed in? Wyndham Clark super struggling. Actually, T has been non-existent. Minwoo Lee, since his win's kind of been out of it, and Cam Young has never won the PGA Tour. Ben Griffin has something up on all of those guys at this point. Love the number, love the play, Jake.
Yeah. And full transparency, I was between him and Keegan. I said, whoever has the higher number, I'm taking this week. And it ends up being Ben Griffin. I think this is a great Keegan course. But again, back-to-back wins are super rare on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, and again, I shouldn't say, off of victory, Keegan isn't really engaged because again, he needs another win and or great finish to secure himself as a player captain at the US or no, excuse me, at the Ryder Cup. So
Yeah.
there's definitely some a big motivation there. All right, so I'm kicking my card off with the most tipped guy, and that's Harry Hall. Love the play this week. He has not missed a cut dating back to the Valspar Championship. Ninth last week of the Travelers, 24th at the Canadian, 6th at the Charles Schwab, 19th at the PGA, 20th in Myrtle Beach, 33rd at Byron Nelson, 49th Corliss Punta Cana, 26th Valero, 18th in Houston, 54th at the Valspar. 31st here a season ago, fourth on tour in birdie or better percentage from less than 150 yards. So he pours them in when it's, given the chance up short. Fifth in birdie or better percentage overall. He's 11th in strokes gained putting bent grass, 25th out of the sand, 36 par 5, 60th approximate hole from 75 to 150, 83rd driving distance, 97th approach. Like what I boiled down to is you need some distance off the tee, got to come with a strong putter, and you got to be able to score low. And Harry Hall does all of those things. I just said it right there. He's elite on bent grass when it comes to putting. He's elite when it comes to scoring low. He is undoubtedly going to be a first round leader bet for me this week. He's very good out of the gate. Maybe a Harry Hall or Keith Mitchell duo. I think that's a dynamic duo this week. Either way, we'll get to that later. Just everything about Harry Hall screams this golf course, the way he plays, all of that. He can go low with all of them, and that putter really leads a charge.
Yeah, you covered it. I mean, he's playing some awesome golf. It feels like the win is coming for Harry Hall. And he is an unbelievable putter, which is something that you could definitely use as an asset at this tournament here. The ball striking's been good too. I think it'll just be a matter of how he gets off the tee, that'll determine his week. But like you said, just all around playing some awesome golf, and I think it's a great shout.
Yeah, good point there. He can get really wild off the tee. I think he's that's it. That's his problem, right? Where is he? Bad podcasting. 113th off the tee. So he's really got to dial things in. I know this golf course is not too penal, but any golf course that you're not playing from the fairway or you're putting yourself in, bad situations, you're going to take yourself out of these golf courses, especially these ones where you got to go low. So see if you can do it this week with that. But did I even mention his odds? I think they're 40-1. That's where I have Harry Hall. But either way, that was where I started my card. And Jake, this next guy, I'm pretty sure, well, at least my next guy. I'm jumping the gun here. Who's your
Yep.
next guy, Jake?
Yep. My next guy is actually not the one we're together on. It's Wyndham Clark at 40-1.
Oh wow,
When
wow.
when I think of bomb, wedge, and putt, he is the
This
first
yeah.
guy that comes to my head. And I saw 40, and he's a US Open winner in a weak field, and it was just an auto click for me, just to be honest. I know the form's been kind of crappy, but a T17 last week at the Travelers where he actually gained on approach, I was definitely happy to see. He has great course history here with a T8 in 2022 and then a T17 in 2019. In both of those tournaments, he lost on approach and still finished top 20. So again, for him, it'll really come down to the irons if they cooperate. He's a great wedge player, but those long irons can tend to struggle. Bomber off the tee, like I said before, and the putter's been nice. He's gained with it in four of his last four. Also a very competent short game player. So this was one that this is a tournament that I always have circled for Wyndham Clark. He hasn't heated up the last couple of years here, but I was happy to see him in this field this year and that I can play him at 40-1. I thought that was a fair number.
Oh, for sure. And I've mentioned his struggles and all of that just previously, but think it back. What's it been? 2 years removed from a US Open victory, a Wells Fargo championship, uh Pebble Beach, although short ends at the course record there. I mean, the guy can go low in a hurry. He can play great golf and, any bit of any circumstances. And you mentioned it, like, how do you win US Opens? It's the ultimate bomb and gouge competition, and he can do it that way. Same with like Pebble Beach, where US Opens are held. He's won at tough golf courses. You mentioned it, big number. If he were to, compete well here for a week or two, we're talking, 25s, 30s again for Wyndham Clark. So a good number.
Yeah.
All right, so my next play here is the crossover I briefly mentioned, and I don't know if we should really talk about this, Jake, but against my better judgment, let's hop into it. It's Keith Mitchell at 45-1. Oh man, we know what we're getting with Keith Mitchell. We know what we're getting. Last play of the Canadian Open, 27th. Prior to that, 36 at Charles Schwab, missed the cut at the PGA. Seventh at the Truist, eighth at Zurich, second at the Punta Cana, 12th at Valero, and 18th in Texas at the Houston Open. The problem with Keith Mitchell, actually the problem, what really attracts everyone to Keith Mitchell is the stat profile this guy presents, which if you were in a vacuum, you're blindfolded, you're just presented five stat lines and you got to pick out who's the best player in the PGA Tour. I mean, we're not going to talk Scotty Scheffler because his is like 1-1-1-1. You're going to hear Scotty or Keith Mitchell's line. You're like, oh, this guy's a top five player in the world.
Yeah.
The stats are insane. He's third on tour in par fives, fourth in birdie or better, sixth off the tee, eighth in driving distance, 22nd green regulation, 23rd on the sand, 31st approximate hole from 75 to 150, 39th in good drives gained, 40th in birdie or better percentage from less than 150, 48th on approach. The problem, 109th strokes gained putting bent grass. So be it. He's putting actually better than he has in recent years this season as well.
Yeah.
Everything is in line for Keith Mitchell to win again on the PGA Tour. I'm not sure the guy, I don't know if it's Sunday yips or when weather gets involved. That's the joke behind Keith Mitchell's when the wind starts, he can't play in the slightest of wind. Cashmere Keith, he's gonna get it done this week, Jake. Crossover victory for the out of the rough guys because it's been forever since we've had one of those.
Yeah.
The stats are insane. Bob and Gouge, this guy's a top 10 driving distance guy on tour with top 50 approach numbers and top five birdie or better numbers. Insanity. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, he's lost off the tee once this year and with his irons twice, and they were very, very minimal. So that should tell you how big of a sample size he's been hitting the ball just beautifully. If the short game cooperates, it'll be all good for Keith Mitchell. And Nate, I'm saying, and I know I said it before the podcast, and you said it in nicer terms. If a loser like Tony Finau could win this event, a loser like Keith Mitchell can. So I teed him up at 50 to 1.
Yeah, it's a big number for a guy who has this stat profile of a top 5, 10 player in the world. At some point, it's got to happen. Something has to fall in the guy's way for it to happen.
Yeah.
We'll see about it, but it is what it is. It's a good number, great value. I know it's the if you well, if you're just going off stats, it's great value, but everything else, yeah, it may not be great value. But yeah. Anyways, Jake, let's move forward. Who's your third player?
Yep. My fourth, because we had the crossover. I have Ben on
Oh
here
wow,
at
okay.
70 to 1. So I thought
Who is
70
that?
to 1 Ben on.
Okay.
So super long off the tee, right? That's something that you always think of when you think of Ben on, and he has a really, really competent around the green game, which is going to be important this week. He also has been playing really well. He goes through these ebbs and flows where he plays some really good golf and then he plays some really crappy golf really consecutively. He just got over that crappy round of golf or that crappy stretch for him. He finished T6 at the RBC Canadian Open, missed the cut at the US Open, and then the T14 last week where he gained across the board with the irons, the putter around the green off the tee. I think Ben On is a winner just in general. He hasn't won on the PGA Tour, but he's won twice on the DP World Tour. One of those wins coming not too long ago at the Genesis Championship, which was in October of
Yeah, over
2024.
Tom Kim.
Yeah, that was tough. But anyway, not the greatest course history. A miscut in 2023, 76 in 2021, and then a T13 in 2019. I thought 70 to 1 on a player like Ben On was just too big of a number to pass up. Again, it's about him spraying it off the tee. If he can kind of just reel it in and not get too crazy off the tee, I think he has a really good chance to compete this week.
Yeah, I never actually put it in writing, but when I started the season, I kind of made notes about players I think to do X, Y, Z. And the guy I had listed to get his first PGA Tour victory, although we've seen a bunch of people do that, was Mignon, right? I thought at the Century, I thought he lined up really well for that type of golf event. Same thing, bomb and gouge, super long off the tee, hit a wedge in and hit a putt. The putt's usually the problem with him. I mean, that's a problem with a lot of these guys. Keith Mitchell, I mean, we talked about the putters really what can let them down. But we're talking about a guy who, to start the season, you're talking 30s, 35s, 40s on the betting card. I know he's down to 70s, and we've seen a lot of these guys slip this season but with poor play. It's a great golf course with Benyon. Again, I think it's one of those guys like you would have expected to have a win on the PGA Tour at this point.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's coming sooner rather than later. So love the play.
Yep.
All right. Well, I messed everything up, Jake, and I'm behind you now. So my third play here is Alex Smalley, 60 to 1. And this was like my early season merchant. Like Alex Smalley was on every card left and right to start this season. Of course, hasn't cashed yet, but man, he's played this event each of the past 3 seasons, has not done well there. But I don't think this is a golf course where course history is of the utmost importance because it's just a birdie fest simply. So fell out the window, 13th in his last outing in Canada. Prior to that, miscut the Charles Schwab at 28th at the PGA Championship, which is great to see a top 30 from a guy like Alex Smalley at a major. Fifth in Myrtle Beach, 39th at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson. He's 14th on tour in birdie or better, 16th in good drive, 17th off the tee, 24th green regulations. He's 26th birdie or better from less than 150, 30th in approximate hole from 170 or from 75 to 150. And Sand saves 41st in driving distance, 46th on approach, 50th in par 5 average score, and then the putter 153 in strokes gained putting bent grass. Again, what do we got here, Jake? Long off the tee, top 50 approach player, gets birdies in a hurry, top 15 in that stat, and then the bad putter. I know I talked about it where this is a tough golf course to find a hot putter. It's possible. Tony Finau is one here. You
Yeah.
mentioned it. There's a trend with all my guys. Same thing. Plus distance, good at birdie or better, good on approach, bad putter. One of these guys needs to find a good putter this week. Alex Smalley has been a staple in DFS for me. He's been great in that aspect. He's been littering top 25s, top 30s, top 35s, making cuts all along the way. So I think we have a real chance. He had a real chance. Where was it? Mexico, right? He was in
Yep.
that kind of final grouping where no one wanted the event and kind of remained idle and dropped shots, gained shots. And same thing. Birdie Fest, Alex Smalley at what did I say? 60 to 1. So that's it.
Yeah, I think that's a great number on Smalley, and he's a super well-rounded player. I knew you were going to go to him, Nate. You've been on him all season. And the underlying numbers say that he has a real chance because he gains across the board like pretty consistently when he's playing that good golf. He had a really good stretch at the beginning of the year. And like you said, his recent form has been really solid too. So we might be seeing another flow of good golf for Smalley. And I think in this field, that's a great number on him.
What do we have? Do you have two left or one left, Jake?
I've got two.
Okay, yeah, we're not too bad then. So who's
Yeah.
your, would it be fifth player?
Fifth. Yep, I've got Steven Yeager. I got him at 75 to 1.
There we go.
Another guy I have circled at these bomb and gouge places because he cranks the ball off the tee, albeit extremely inaccurately. So hopefully he just doesn't find himself in a ton of trouble. We mentioned that, the rough isn't too penal and that such. So as long as he's not in hazards, he will be doing okay. His irons are really good and he has a very competent short game and can catch a hot putter. He's one of the better putters on tour, which I like to see. Also better around the green. His around the green's been struggling a little bit, and his recent form hasn't been too great. I think that's why we're seeing the 75 to 1 on Jaeger here. But the history here is actually not too bad. Sandwiched between missed cuts last year and in 2019, he had a T9 in 2023 and a fifth place finish in 2022. So he has two top 10 finishes at this event. Has shown that he could play well. Also, a winner on the PGA Tour. He won last year. So I thought 75 to 1 was a fair number and teed him up this week.
Yeah, and the event he did win was a Texas Bomb and Gouge Birdie Fest. Doing so,
Yep.
he's a cool story because at one point he was really short off the tee, and then over a winter he came back with plus distance off the tee with insane club head speed and all of that. So that's a cool story to see. But with that came, increased inaccuracy. And I think it was last year at either the American Express or the Farmers Insurance where he had the lead going in through 54 holes and then hit every bunker imaginable off the tee and took himself out of it, especially when I was on him. But yeah, I mean, he's a winner, 75 to 1, does what you need, not more to talk about than that.
Yep.
All right, so getting into my long shots here, we have Jesper Svensson at 90 to 1. I've just been waiting to fire this
Yeah.
guy up. Bomb and Gouge, if you're a DP World Tour guy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He is currently third on tour in par fives. He's fourth in average driving distance. He's seventh in birdie or better, eighth off the tee, 37th out of the sand, 44th in strokes gained putting on bent grass, 62nd approximate hole from 125 to 150, or less than 150, excuse me. Yeah, so really all of this, it boils down to approach play. 154th in strokes game approach. That's his problem. But looking back at his last start in Canada, he placed 18th there, and he gained 0.351 strokes on approach per round in Canada. So that's promising to see with his irons clicking. Before that, he was 46th at Charles Schwab, 64th at Myrtle Beach, excuse me. But yeah, this dude cranks the ball off the tee. He gets birdies in a hurry, has a good putter. Like, this is one of those rare combinations. We talk about like a Maverick Neely type of player where they have super long distance off the tee and it's putt extremely well. And then it's just if the irons show up. He gained with irons in his last play in Canada, gets birdies in a hurry. I love Jesper Svensson this week at 90 to 1.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair number. I don't have much to add there. If you haven't had the pleasure of seeing Jesper Svensson hit the ball off the tee, it sounds like a rocket just being shot out of a cannon. So definitely tune in this week and see. Hopefully they have some coverage on him because, like you said, he's going to be pouring in some birdies hopefully this week. And I can't fault you. 90 to 1 is a great number on him.
Yeah, let's hope. I'm ready for. He's one of those guys that I was excited to see in the PGA Tour coming from the DP World Tour. A
Yep.
legitimate chance to be a winner in the PGA Tour, in my opinion. Of course, here my betting card in doing so. So hopefully this is the week for it with a big number next to his name.
Yep.
All right, Jake, let's round things out here.
Yep, my last guy here, Nate. I've been playing him in these like bombing birdie fests all season long. I'm not stopping yet. It's Antoine Rosner at 175 to 1. If you've listened to one of the previous podcasts, I'll make this rather short. This is a guy who just nukes the ball off the tee, has incredible irons, and cannot putt to save his
Yep.
life or has any around the green play. But that being said, recently at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson T13 where he gained with the putter. The Myrtle Beach was in between that, a T34, and then at the RBC Canadian Open, a T24 where he gained with the putter and around the green. So I'm really hoping that Roser can build off of this putter gaining, albeit not that much. Just gain a little bit, just stay in the green because the ball striking in the distance off the tee will carry him this week. If he doesn't lose it around the green and with the putter, I think he has a really good chance to win. And I think 175 to 1 was a number I couldn't pass up.
Yeah, another DP World Tour promotee. He gets birdies in a hurry, and he can have irons like we talk about with Hideki Matsuyama, where his irons are on, he's just plopping them next to the hole. It's only fitting though that you played this guy this week because it's about a year anniversary from the Italian Open last year, where you had a huge lead along with like I think it was Matty Schmid, right? They
Yep.
both blew it, and that's when Tom McKibben had to call his caddy back, who like was boarding a plane or a train to get out of there because he had thought he had no chance because he finished his round like 3 hours prior,
Yep.
and then he ended up losing to Matty Schmid in the playoff, and again had him on my card. But either way, Anton Rosner, yeah, we talk about him almost every week now in these golf courses and these events from you, Jake. So not much to add there.
I'm pivoting from Henrik Norlander to Antoine Rosner.
Two complete opposites. All right, my final play here is 110 to 1 on Lee Hodges, a guy that I've been playing on these bomb and gouge golf courses with great value. He's first on tour in par 5 average score, and he's 27th in career regulations, 29th approximate hole from 75 to 150, 31st on approach, 43rd good drive, 58th average driving distance. He is 71st off the tee, 128 strokes gained putting bent grass, placed ninth in his last outing in Canada, 53rd in Charles Schwab. That's about it, right? Again, I'm not going to keep boring you guys with the same spiel about every one of these golfers. Fits the mold, does what I want. And yeah, 110 to 1 for Lee Hodges, who, won in the Midwest, right? What did he win? No, he won the 3M Open, didn't he?
Yep, he did. He won the 3M in 2023.
Yeah, which that's in the Midwest, is it not? Yeah,
Yeah, I believe
yeah,
so.
somewhere, right?
The 3M is
It's at the,
TPC Twin Cities.
yeah, Minnesota.
Yep.
Look at
Yeah,
that
I don't have too much to add here. Lee
knowledge.
Hodges is a great call. He's an iron god. He also is just really accurate off the tee. Not too short, but a little bit less than tour average. So I like the shout, Nate. You've been on him, and I will support you.
Thank you. Needed that. All right. So, Jake, anything to add about this golf tournament before we move forward? I do to make mention quick that Aaron Wise at one point was 1,000 to 1. So, do with that information as you guys will.
And Nate, that is the information that I will do with it. But one thing that I will add is that Luke Clanton, if he is to win this season, I think that this is a really interesting spot for him and an opportunity for him. I just wanted to put that in there in case it happens. I have a little bit of recognition.
We have a clip we could take from this.
Exactly.
Yeah, he is, dude. He opened to like 30 to 1 or something, like insane odds. Like, I know he's a two-time winner of the PGA Tour, but come on now. That was
Yeah,
insane.
couldn't get there at the number, but it would not surprise me at all.
Yeah. All right, Jake. Well, that's it for this week's PGA Tour event at the Rocket Classic. And of course, next week, John Deere Classic before we head across the pond for the majority of the tour. Some will stay back for an outfield event at the ISCO Championship before hopping over to California for the Barracuda Championship with that funky scoring play. What's we won't even talk about that. We'll get there eventually. We'll get there eventually. But we have DP World Tour golf for the first time in what's it been 2 weeks since the last time we had some DP World Tour action. So Italian Open this week. We'll get through this here, guys. I know we're a little long-winded on the PGA Tour side of things. 82nd playing of the storied Italian Open. Nomadic event plays a different golf course for the third consecutive season this week. Last year, the event was held at the Adriatic Golf Club, Sevilla, and prior to that was, of course, held at the 23 Ryder Cup venue, Marco Simone Golf and Country Club. This year, the Argentario Golf Club in Monte Argentero will play host for the very first time. This venue, also known as PGA National Italy, has been at Italy's only PGA licensed golf facility since 2019. Previously mentioned, this week marks the penultimate event of the Tour's European Swing. I guess I never previously mentioned on the podcast, but I did in my article. Either way, it is the penultimate event of the European Swing of the DP World Tour, which currently sees Christopher Raiton leading the way for that $200,000 bonus and some other benefits that go along with that. Back nine is really close to us, Jake, and the DP World Tour season is winding down as well rather quickly. Field this week, Marcel Siem won last year's addition to the Italian Open. I mentioned that already during the PGA Tour breakdown. Holding off Tom McKibben, of course. Connor Siem comes in as the latest DP World Tour winner, winning the KLM Open 2 weeks back. Other notable golfers in this week's field, and guys, this field is not a good field whatsoever. which is weird for an event like the Italian Open. But anyways, John Perry, Raiton, Daniel Hillier, Martin Kuvra, Sean Norris, Marco Penge, Kaito Nakajima, Jaden Schapper, and Eugenia Shakara lead the way. This has been an event where some of the biggest names in the tour has won, which is weird. The biggest names are absent here, but again, Adrian Meronk in 23, Robert McIntyre in 2022, and Nikolai Hogarth in 2021 are winners before Seam, and of course they all have their PGA Tour had a PGA Tour card, but of course Adrian Meronk opted for Live Golf, and even Marcel Seam uh, is a PGA Tour player as well. All right, about the golf course here. This is a par 71 at roughly 6,800 yards. Opened in 2006. The course was designed by David Messasine. Messed that up. Professional golfer Baldovino Dasu, as the holes were shaped by Brian Jorgensen. It weaves its way in and out of natural Mediterranean vegetation and ancient olive groves. The course itself is set in a protected nature environment and too offers breathtaking views of the nearby Orbitello Lagoon, the sea, and the hillsides. A large amount of earth was moved to create this golf course, which was once used as the promontory's waste dump. Tens of thousands of indigenous trees and shrubs. I'm struggling right now, Jake. Were planted along the course upon its opening. The course is organically managed as only natural fertilizers and pesticides are used. It is one of only 2 Italian golf clubs to receive AgResearch status. I'm assuming that's some kind of safe for the environment, tag or something. Haven't heard about
Yeah.
that until this right now. As of this course itself, off the tee golfers will be faced with plunging fairways that go both up and down. The fairways too are protected by the aforementioned indigenous trees, vegetation, and on multiple holes water. These fairways lead to small greens that are well guarded. The greens are small in size and are often sloped, and reports suggest that they are the driving factor in the difficulty of this golf course. The final 3 holes promise to offer dramatics down the stretch as well. The par 4 16th has water in play on the entirety of the left side of the hole. The par 3 17th measures nearly 230 yards. The 17th green is guarded by water on the left and bunkers on the right. The green on the par 5 18th has water guarded to the right as well. Some reports suggest that a handful of European-based professionals were asked to play this golf course upon its completion. Their scores were so bad that the staff had to take an oath of secrecy not to disclose their scores. Of course, that's complete speculation, but from the research I've seen, there may be some validity to it. All right, that's it for this week. Let's talk about. That's not it. That's about it about the golf course. We have some guys to talk about. I have 5 guys in the card, and I think you have the same.
Yep. And we have one crossover.
All right. Well, you led the way for the PGA, so I'll lead the way for the DP. Kicking things off with Kaito Nakajima at 30-1. Mixed bag of results over the last 3 months, but when he's on, he's on. Most recently missed the cut in his last round on the KLM Open, but prior to that, 11th in Austria. Missed the cut at the Sadao Open, prior to that, 11th the Hainan Classic. Missed the cut in China, but prior to that was runner-up at the Hero Indian Open and the Port Singapore Classic. So in that stretch, he's yet to miss back-to-back cuts each week. So each week that he has missed a cut, he follows it up with a great performance. Hoping that trend continues here this week, as things are suggesting. So he is currently 10th on tour off the tee, 12th in driving accuracy and 3-putt avoidance, 21st in par 5, 27th bogey avoidance, 29th scrambling, 36th in putting, 65th on approach, 72nd out of the sand, and 82nd around the green. A good number in a weak field for a guy who was a back-to-back runner-up a few months back on some difficult golf courses there in Singapore. And really like him, really fancy him this week at 30-1.
Yeah, for a course that we don't have like too much knowledge on, I think that playing the cream of the crop here is the route that I'm taking, and it sounds like, leading your card off with Nakajima, you're taking as well. He is definitely one of the more talented people in this field.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and like you said, when it rains, it pours. Like he's playing some really good golf, and yeah, I could totally see him getting it done. He's been very accurate off the tee this season, which is really good. Um, I think this is going to play similar to a Link style.
Yes.
I yeah, because John Parry has won here in recently in like a Challenge Tour event. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. I spoiled that, but for him to win, there's a certain style of golf that needs to be played, and accuracy off the tee, like Nakajima has, is important. So I like the play.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about when we get to John Perry. Who's your first player, Jake?
Yeah, my first player here is probably the hottest player on the DP World Tour. It's Christopher Ryoton. I got him at 33 to 1. I just couldn't believe the number next to him. It felt like it was a must play. He is incredible off the tee, long and accurate. So kind of attacking on both ends there, which I love to see. The putter has been scorching hot for him too. So it'll really come down to the irons for him. If he can get those under control and gain with those, I think he has a great chance. He won the Soudal Open, which plays kind of like a Linksy style golf. I know that was backed on the super, super low Sunday round. And then he did the same thing at the Austrian Alpine Open, a super low rounds to get him a T2 there. I'm kind of hoping that it's just not one round for him, that he can kind of string it together over 4 rounds and just dominate a tournament. But his recent stretch of form with a T2, T33, a win, a T2, and then a T13 at 33 to 1, I was not passing up in a field like this.
Yeah, that's a big number for a guy who legitimately can walk in this golf course and win by 8 strokes. Like that's the talent we're talking about with Christopher Raitan at this point. So yeah, you mentioned it. He can go low. He can go low. It's not just it's like you think of like a DP World Tour with what's it, Adrian Dumont, Chastis or whatever. He
Yep,
like goes low for one round, then
blows
goes
up.
high for the other three. Like Raitan's going low, but then he's not like going super high. Like he's still keeping
He's keeping
himself in
himself in
contention
it.
and doing so. So the difference could be we don't know much about this golf course. It could play super hard, one low round, get you into contention, and you hang around, things like that. Love to play. It's a big number in all reality for what you're getting out of Christopher Raitan. I talked about him already. It's a big number.
Yeah.
All right. So next for me is Sean Norris at 50 to 1. And it's a guy we haven't seen a ton of the DP World Tour, but of golfers with at least 6 starts this season, no one has a better average finishing placement than him. And it's not even close. In 6 events, he has an average finishing placement of 8.17. So he last saw him at the Volvo China Open. He was 15th. He was a runner up at Joburg, ninth in South Africa, 16th at the Ras Al Khaimah, sixth in Dubai, and won the Alfred Dunhill Championship. So again, we haven't seen a lot of them, but a lot of those tournaments, the Alfred Dunhill, the Dubai Desert Classic, even the Ras Al Khaimah, we're seeing the PGA Tour guys, we're seeing the Live Golf guys at that point, the big guys, the Tyrell Hattons, the Rory McIlroys, Tommy Fleetwoods, all of those guys are playing those events, and he won the Alfred Dunhill in that in a field. Again, that's not the best field, but there are some names there. Sixth in Dubai, which is probably the best attended field on the DP World Tour outside of the DP World Tour Championship. And he's doing great. I mean, he's also first on tour in putting and three putt avoidance and bogey avoidance and par five average scoring. Look at that. First in all of them. He is also second around the green, third in scrambling, 20th in sand save, 72nd in approach, and then the concern 83rd in driving accuracy and 122nd off the tee. Get that boiled down. And if you know what my research is telling me that putting is a difference this week, we have the tour's best putter at 50 to 1, who is also the tour's best in 3 point avoidance. He's the tour's best in bogey avoidance. He's the tour best in par five average scoring, which you have to take advantage of this week. Absolutely love Sean Norris 50 to 1. I mean, every time he's touched a golf course in the DP World Tour this season, he's given it a shout. So we'll do it again.
Yeah, Nate, I can't fault you there at all. And also, just an added stat there, he's been playing on the Japan tour, like kind of concurrently with the DP World Tour. He won his last start, and on June 15th was when the tournament started.
He's been
So,
winning like last year. If you look at his, like, he's won a ton of times on the Japan Tour last year, like an insane amount.
yeah, he is a guy who knows how to get over the finish line. He recently did it on the DP World Tour, at the Alfred Dunhill Championship. So it's been a little bit, but it was this season. Like you said, when he has touched the DP World Tour soil, he's been playing incredibly. And you're getting him at 50 to 1. It feels almost like a no-brainer. I'm kind of mad that I overlooked him, but my card is full and would not surprise me at all if he had success this week.
Well, just as I'm mad that I didn't look at Raitan at 30 to 3, but either way, neither here nor there. Let's keep going. Jake, who's your next play?
Yep, my next play here, a guy who I think is quickly rising to be the cream of the crop on the DP World Tour. It's Martin Kuvra at 40 to 1. I was fortunate to be on him at the Turkish Airlines Open where he won. He's had some really great finishes, but it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for him. It's either a miscut or like a top 20 for him all season long. So that's kind of what I'm looking for on my, betting card. Like if you're not going to win for me, then you're not really doing me much of a service. But he's been playing some awesome golf. He had a fifth at the Hindon Classic. He won the Turkish Airline Open, like I mentioned. He missed the cut at the Soudal, which is a little bit concerning because I think that that course is going to play similar to how this week is, but he followed that up with the T8 at the Austrian Alpine Open. He's been hitting the ball beautifully, both off the tee and on approach. Um, and the short game is kind of spiky and inconsistent, but I think that Kuvra, 22 years old, is quickly rising to the top of the DP World Tour. He's a super talented guy. And in a weaker field event, I thought 40 to 1 was a fair number to tee him up at.
Yeah, I thought about betting him as well. Recent winner on the DP World Tour, and again, my mind quickly goes to it's so hard to win twice on this tour. So that kind of helps with that and building a card, in my opinion. But either way, he's going to be a guy in the PGA Tour in short time, possibly even this year. I'm not sure where he stands in the rankings, but I think he's top 15 last time I checked, somewhere around there. But yeah, it's something I love to see these countries who typically don't produce a ton of golf talent, especially in the European ranks. We're talking about like France. Like you think of golf, I'm not saying golf is a French sport, but you think of how big France is, the population, and how they've been in other sports. You think that they would have dominant golfers at some point, and they just really haven't. And recently, we've seen some win on the DP World Tour, of course, the PGA Tour. We saw one last year, so it's cool to see, like, especially when the Olympics are there and how much buzz it got with golf, and the reports of more kids are playing the game there and all of that. And now we're seeing Martin Kuvra, who has a real chance, I believe, someday to be a PGA Tour winner himself. So yeah, it's a great number and a great story along the way.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would love to see him get it done twice because that would almost positively secure him on the
Oh yeah,
PGA Tour.
100%. It would.
Yeah.
All right. My next play is I just talked about playing guys who, have won twice. It's so hard to win twice on this tour. And I talked about Sean Norris who won once. And here's another guy that won this season. It's John Perry, the infamous crossover here. 55 to 1, a huge number. They're just tempting me. I think I played him in his last event like 70 to 1. Like John Perry just continues to be insane value. I think he's what, 30 or 35 right now in the betting cards, Jake. We talked
Yep.
about. I just messed up my camera, so you're gonna see a little bit chopped off if you're watching YouTube, but so be it. I can't mess with it right now. John Perry, I gotta talk about John Perry. Can't fix my camera. He is fourth on tour in sand saves. He's fifth on approach, ninth in scrambling, 11th in bogey avoidance, 16th in par five, 17th around the green, 44th in three putt avoidance, 74th off the tee, 76th in average driving distance, 82nd in putting. He does everything well. There's not really a weakness to this guy's game. This is an all around player. 55th his last outing, the KLM Open. Prior to that, fourth in Soudal. You talked about that golf course in relation to this event. 33rd of the Turkish Airline Open, 29th of the Indian Open, 36th of the Porcelain Bar Classic. Looking back a bit on the season, runner-up of the Magical Kenya Open, won the Afro Asia Moratus Open, was also the runner-up to Sean Norris at the Alfred Dunhill Championship along the way. Now, Jake, I overlooked this stat that you brought up earlier, that this very golf course hosted a hotel planner tour / challenge tour event, and John Perry was the winner there. I did not know of that.
Yep. Yeah, and it was last year. It wasn't like this was like 40 years ago, like we've seen at some of these, but like this was within his last 25 starts. He teed it up and won it at this course. So good mojo for him coming into this week in that sense. And I'm there with you. I got 45, so not as good of a number as you got, but the number seems to keep, tanking down. I know that he's the most tipped on the DP World Tour this week. That doesn't necessarily scare me because I think that this almost feels like destiny in a sense. And that is famous last words. We can clip that when misses the cut here.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, this is another guy who'll be on the PGA Tour in no time at all.
Yeah.
One of the up and rising young stars of the English game. And yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for him to take my money and miss the cut this week.
Yep.
All right, so I guess we're all through three right now, Jake. So
Yep.
I guess I'll keep going here with my next play, and that's Eduardo Molinari, 80 to 1. Needed to get at least one home player on the card. I know typically that never works out, right? Guys hardly win their home open unless you're in the United States. That happens quite often. But yeah, he is 80 to 1. He has now played 7 events on the DP World Tour outside the KLM Open, did not play there, but 7 events in a row. Average finish placement of 27th in those 7 events, 22nd in his last outing in Austria, 49th at the Soudal, 24th in Turkey, 6th in Hainan, 36th in the Volvo, 9th in India, and 43rd at the Poor Singapore Classic. He is currently first on tour in driving accuracy. He's second in both scrambling and bogey avoidance, third in putting, 39th around the green, 41st in sand saves, 58th three putt avoidance and par fives, 71st off the tee, 85th on approach. Now, this is a veteran of the game, been around for a very long time. I think he's in his late 30s at this point. But this is the most accurate golfer on the DP World Tour this season. This is the third best putter on the DP World Tour this season, the second best scrambler, and the guy who avoids the most bogeys. He is very good at three putt avoidance. He's great around the green. About average when it comes to the approach numbers and off the tee, but well rounded and his home open. 80 to 1. Been on him a few times this season, so why not this week?
Yeah, Molinari has definitely had a bit of a resurgence of his career this year, which is great to see. Um, I was very close to doing him this week, but I just couldn't get there. The approach numbers have just been struggling a little bit too much for me, but that's because I opened the odds books and he was 60 to 1. So if I had seen the 80, I probably would have done it just like you, Nate. Like you mentioned, accurate off the tee and a great putter, which is a great combo for links. He just needs to dial in those irons, and if he could game with those, he is certainly live in his home open this week.
Yeah, it definitely helps, because you want to have the feel good story of someone winning their
Yeah.
home open because it's such a big deal to these guys. I mean, I always reflect back to Nick Taylor winning the 23 Canadian Open. So yeah, you want to see these guys take down their home opens and you want to be, a part of it, right? Although it's just a few dollars here to for Eduardo Molinari to win this event. And, I feel like if he's my betting card and he is to do it, I'm part of this, awesome thing to see happen.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So that's
That is part of it.
definitely built into my choice of picking him there, in my opinion. So, Jake, who's your next play?
Yep, my next play here is Oliver Lindell. I got him at 60 to 1. Just playing too good of golf right
Hmm.
now, and the ball striking numbers, when I loaded it up, I honestly almost couldn't believe it. It was an auto bet for me at that point. A T12 at the Turkish airline, a T25 at Sudal, T13 at the Austrian Alpine Open, and then a T55 at the KLM. Everything that I want out of a golfer this week, he has, which is a little bit scary, except the putter. He's accurate off the tee. The ball striking's been nuclear. He's great around the greens. The putter has been an absolute struggle bus for him, but we talk about it all the time. The putter's the easiest thing to get hot and get cold and, just have a spike weekend. So I'm taking my chances at 60 to 1. I thought the number was too big to pass up on Lindell, who he's gained over a stroke per round over his last 4 weeks, which is more than enough for me to take a shot on in the DP World Tour.
Yeah, talking about earlier about countries who aren't, known for producing golf talent. We have Finland offering us Oliver Lindell, who makes an appearance on the betting chart, top betting chart this week. But yeah, insane form, and we talk about this often. The DP World Tour and these other tours, the Corn Ferry and the Hotel Planner, like form is all of it, right? You need to make sure everything's clicking and you're in form. And Oliver Lindell is definitely doing that right now. And again, 60 to 1 is still a big number in doing so. All right, Jake, final guy here for me is a guy that has been a staple of my card this entire season, and maybe a bit of FOMO that if it were to happen and he's not on me, if he's on me, if I'm not on him, it'll be drastic. But Jacob Skolvolassen, 80 to 1. Again, we're getting big numbers for him. He is currently one of my favorite golfers in the DP World Tour. Been on him a bunch, but man, currently 11th on tour in sand saves, 13th in par five, 21st bogey avoidance, 26th on approach, 38th in accuracy, 41st in three putt avoidance, 57th in putting, 58th around the green, and 63rd and off the tee. So everything's top 63 I talked about this week. 19th is last on the KLM. Prior to that, 42nd in Austria, 41st in Sudal, 12th in Turkey, missed the cut of Hainan, 8th at the Volvo, 7th at Joburg, 13th at Metro Kenya Open. He is going to win the DP World Tour at some point, and it's going to be soon. He's another guy that I believe will be on the DP or the PGA Tour in no time whatsoever. Part of that, you know, something about Danish golf. It just excites me. I love how they play the game. And typically it's more of a, I don't know if it's a bombing gouge with a slight more accuracy, but it's kind of how they play it. It's a
Yeah.
bit like reckless. They're like threading that perfect needle of like being reckless and not reckless, and it's so much fun to watch. Jacob Skov-Lawson's definitely one of those guys with the Hogard twins and Nicholas Niergaards and the Rasmus Niergaard Petersons. All of those guys on the PGA Tour at some point together. Give it 2, 3 years. We'll be talking about all these guys on the PGA Tour, as three of them are there already. Definitely going to win soon. 80 to 1's a big number for a super. I mean, he's really young and he's what, 22, 23, somewhere around there. And yeah, he's going to get it done, and this could be the week.
Yeah, him and Kuvra feel like they're rising to be the cream of the crop on
Yep.
the DP World Tour. And like you said, you're getting double the odds on Skov Olsen this week, who has played outside of a win equally as good as Kuvra this season. So, if he had that win under his belt, he would be priced similar to Kuvra
Oh,
here
yeah.
at half the odds. So I love the shout on him this week. He's playing incredible golf, and I'm there with you. I think he is going to win very soon, and why not this week?
Yeah, why not this week? There's the DP World Tour, it's getting hard because the top 10 guys go to the PGA Tour, and
Yeah.
a lot of the spots be occupied by the staples of the tour, right? The guys who are just top 10 merchants and, calling out Jordan Smith and Matthew Jordan, those type of guys, right? They're going to get PGA cards just because of the consistency purely, right? But then we're going to have these young guys who get their wins or their, 2 wins and get themselves the PGA Tour. And I guess there's no hate towards Matthew Jordan and Jordan Smith, but they're not going to win on the PGA Tour whatsoever. There's a ton of these guys like a Brent Weisberger who's going to make the PGA Tour probably this season. All of these guys that have no chance to win the DP World Tour. And then you get the guy who sneaks in at 10th, like why is it eluded me? The 24, what do you win there? American Express, French,
Pavone.
Pavon. He was the 10th guy, I think, either ninth or 10th in that first year or last year on the promotion to the PGA Tour. And he's got a PGA Tour victory as the rest of the guys. I don't know if they do off the top
Right.
of my head. I don't know that list. I think Robert McIntyre was on that list, but he wasn't. Robert McIntyre, I don't think, was top five either. So, like, these are the guys. These are the guys I'm trying to get at. Like, there's a difference between playing solid golf, the PGA Tour, making PGA Tour. The difference between that and these guys who have a legitimate chance someday to win the PGA Tour. And I think Jacob Skov-Lawson, it's a long way to get to this point that he's going to be one of those guys that wins the PGA Tour at some point in his career.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, Jake, who's your final play after my ramble?
Yep, I'm wrapping it up with Darius Van Driel at 110 to 1. Nate, I think he was our first combined win, like when we first started doing this at the Magical Kenya Open. But again, there's not much to go off of. It's been an absolutely abysmal season for DVD here. But what I'm hanging my hat on here is that the Sudal Open, he finished T2. He missed the cut at the Alpine Open, and then he finished T26 at the KOM. So he is getting back into playing some better golf. And like I said a million times already, the Sudal Open was one of the comp tournaments this year that I used to, pick my players this week, and finishing tied for second there was encouraging for me at 110 to 1. I just teed him back up, didn't feel like there was any harm or foul there. He's extremely accurate off the tee. The irons have been cooperating, although they are a little bit below average there. And the short game is where it tends to struggle, especially with the putter. But again, 110 to 1, I'm not expecting a complete golfer, especially in a field like this. So this is a bit of a shot in the dark. And this is a guy who's won on the DP World Tour not too long ago. So I'm taking my shot here on DVD.
Yeah, definitely. When you get to these long shots, there's definitely a difference between betting the guy who has no chance to win and a guy who has a chance to win. And DVD has a chance to win. Again, last year won in Kenya. This year, the runner-up at Sudal legitimately had a chance to win that golf event as well at a big number. So yeah, there's a real chance when you're taking long shots. Again, complete difference between I mentioned Aaron Wise. I'm not talking 100 to 1 on the PGA Tour, but there's guys who have no chance 100 plus to win a golf event, and there's guys who have legitimate chances, and DVD is one of those guys.
Yep.
All right, Jake, anything to add about this golf event before we sign off here?
Nope. I think we covered it all.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're getting to the heart of the schedule. I say that often. PGA Tour, we're almost done. Like 3 weeks at the Open, then another 5 weeks, and then the tour is over. We're talking 2 months from now, right? Where are we? Yeah, we're into next week's July. So yeah,
Crazy.
2 months left of the PGA Tour. DP World Tour be winding down right with it. All of this, man, we're about to be done. We're about to be done and dusted. So we got to get a few more winners on our card before we close things out here. Of course, in the fall series where things get a little more interesting and super hard to find a winner in the fall series. as you start seeing those Corn Ferry Tour promo tees, those guys fighting for cards, and it's where it gets fun. Like people bash these regular field events now, right?
Yeah.
Like we see this week and next week with the John Deere Classic and all of that. But I enjoy these type of golf events, especially breaking them down and trying to find a winner because it's names that you typically don't bet. They see signature events, you have the same 70 golfers every single week, and it's so and so and Scotty Scheffler. Then the majors, the same thing. Like it's so fun to me to watch and follow these events. I love to see, if it were to be yes for Svensson coming out of nowhere and having a legitimate chance, like these type of events are where we get introduced to these guys and get a bit of a fan favorite following because of events like this.
Yeah.
Well, let's sign off here, Jake, and get on with our evenings. We're gonna be finding you on social media.
Yep, you can find me at DJ Freeman on Twitter. Both my PGA Tour and DP World Tour cards are posted there, so be sure to check those out. Also, be sure to check out our Discord, completely free to join, no hidden paywalls once you're in there. A lot of great content, information, really everything, all of the above. We have, from not too experienced people in there to professional bettors and people who just love and eat, sleep, and breathe the game of golf in there. So, it's a really great community we have in there. If you have any questions related to the golf tournament or just golf in general, really, and you want just, some more opinions outside of me and Nate and some of your friends and buddies, be sure to join our Discord, drop it in there, and you'll get a lot of opinions and spark up a good discussion, which, that group chat is going pretty consistently. And it's great to see. So definitely be sure to join.
Yeah, it's definitely a great community, and there's definitely some guys who will make sure you get their opinion. I'm just joking around. It's a great group of individuals in there. Love what we built over there, Jake. It's not just to take all the credit for us doing it. It's a community, right? We have
Yeah.
the community tip tracker where each week I track the bets across all tours so we can get each other across the finish line. I do a little tier system now in scoring to have a little banter between all of us in there, and man, we made some great relationships in doing this in this Discord. There's some regulars in there that we, now have inside jokes with and banter with all the time. So, guys, just hop in there. You don't even have to talk. You can check out the channels, the free tips, some of the other, NASCAR. Cody is scorching hot on NASCAR, winning left and right. It seems like everything he suggests hits on NASCAR. So, yeah, there's a ton of stuff in there, guys. So be sure to check it out. It's free. There's really no reason not to at least, see what it's about. All right, you can follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKF Nate. Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. Be sure to visit WeKnowFantasy.com for some more fantasy sports content. Wow, I said that like a robot. Fantasy baseball, basketball, football, NASCAR, golf, everything we have you covered. Yeah, be sure to check all of that out. Ask to join the free weekly newsletter for Out of the Rough, where I compile all of the offerings of the week into one email for you. The one and done. There's a ton of stuff Out of the Rough offers you guys each and every week. So hope you guys enjoy everything that we do here. Until next time, guys, we'll see you.